Guten Tag. I want to talk about my coworker today because I think he might be a little bit concerning. So I started a new job recently, and I was hired along with two other people. One of the other people has already quit at this point. He's already gone, and he wasn't very talkative, whatever. The second person, though, I thought I got along with very well. He was a kind of like a in-the-know guy. He knew about Linux, he knew about Steam, he knew about gaming, he knew about certain artists that I liked. He seemed like a really, really cool guy. That was until we started talking about history. Oh boy, this is, where you've read the title, you know where this is going. Basically, I was working on the upper floor balcony of a gym, and he was leaving. He was done with his shift, and he stopped by to talk and say hi. And we were talking, and I don't even remember exactly how we got to it, because it was such a no-brainer, nothing conversation. I wasn't really paying attention to it, right? But we were talking about the future, and I said something along the lines of, hey, at least nobody's ever forced me at gunpoint to go to school before, or something like that, right? Because I was talking about going to college or whatever. And he responded with, well, actually, people have before. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. When? And he started talking about the Black Rights Civil Movement. Basically, what he said was that for integration, where black and white communities came together and were no longer segregated, I call it integration. I'm sure there's a better term for it, but integration, that nobody wanted to integrate, even the black children who were being forced at gunpoint to go to white schools. That's a very interesting thing to say because I don't remember that at all. I don't remember being taught that in history class whatsoever. So I was kind of sitting there thinking that maybe I was wrong. Like, maybe there was some truth to that, and I just didn't realize that. I didn't learn about that correctly, so I Googled it. And yeah, that's not true. That was never a thing. Black kids were not forced at gunpoint to go to white kids' schools. That did not happen. Interesting, I guess. Interesting perspective he had, but he said this, and I thought it was a little bit concerning. I'm like, what a weird thing to say to somebody. So I decided to try to test him. I have another story, a long-winded story of the fact that I went to watch the Super Bowl with somebody who was actually a white supremacist, and I didn't realize it till later. And all you gotta know about the second story is the very big climax, the climactic ending of the story, the punchline is this guy told me, Lucas, us whites have it the hardest out of any race. And I thought that was really funny because of just the context of the world. And so I told my coworker this long-winded story, and that was the punchline. The punchline was, us whites have it the hardest. And I was expecting him to like laugh it off or be like, what a weirdo, right? But instead he paused and went like this. He's not exactly wrong. And I looked at him like this. I was like, and he continues on. He goes, systematically, he's wrong, but institutionally he's right. I'm still looking at him like this. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I didn't say that, but still, I was like, what the fuck? So then he sees my shocked expression. I'm still like looking like this, right? And he says something very concerning. He sees my expression and goes, yeah, so that's why I failed my background check. What? What does that mean? And then he just walks away after that. I'm like, what the fuck? I was blindsided by this. That was really shocking to me. So anyway, this guy, we don't talk for a few days, but then later, we're working together on organizing classrooms, moving furniture back into the classrooms, and we're with like two other guys, and we were all getting along as a group really fucking well. We all like really vibed with each other. That was until once again he started talking about things. So number one, the thing that kind of made everybody like off about him was how much of a capitalist he really is. Now that sounds really weird to say, like, oh, what's wrong with capital? Are you a commie? What's wrong with capitalism? No. It's just I have nothing wrong with, I have no qualms about capitalism. This guy, however, is way too hard of a diehard. He self-described himself as an extreme capitalist, and he will go as far as to wishing death upon people who he thinks are not capitalist enough. He was talking to us about his friend, who's a socialist apparently, and he started really talking about him. He said, oh, my friend, he says he's such a socialist, he should just fucking die, I fucking hate that guy. And he like went off on his friend. Like, at first, the group that I was in thought it was kind of a joke, like, oh, he's joking about being a diehard capitalist. But then he just kind of kept going, and there was no punchline to the joke. My friend's a fucking idiot. I can't believe this guy. He's such a fucking moron. I fucking hate him. He's such a fucking... And he just kept talking about his friend being a socialist. And eventually, I asked him, so why is your friend such a socialist? What policies does he hold that is socialist to you? And he responds with, well, he's disabled. And because he's disabled, he thinks he can get money from the government. That's socialist. And the entire group just kind of stopped and, like, looked at each other and then kept working. Because, like, that... What? Like, what a fucking insane thing to say. Especially to a group of people that you don't know. So because that your friend is disabled and wants money from the government, he's a socialist. And you wish death upon him? Okay, cool, that's fun. And then a couple minutes later, he then says another thing that freaked everybody out, which was one of my other coworkers mentioned the fact that her family was from France a couple generations ago. They immigrated to the U.S. like in 1960 or 1950 or something like that. Me and the other coworker were all like, oh, that's pretty cool. And we started talking about our family origins. I talked about, oh, my family's from Germany. Then the other guy said my family's from Italy. And then the fourth guy who had been talking about, the fourth coworker, he when we started talking about this, he just kind of stopped doing what he was doing, looked up at us and just waited. And then we were all like, oh yeah, I'm from France, Italy, whatever. Then he goes, no, you guys aren't. And we look over at him like, what? And he goes, no, you guys aren't from those countries. And then one of my other coworkers asks, well, what do you mean? And he goes, no, I can tell you guys are not from those countries. You're not German, you're not France, you're not Italian. And then I decided to try to like argue. I'm like, well, no, I literally have records. My family is from Germany. I know where my family comes from. And once again, he just goes, no, you don't. Nope, you not come from Germany. Nope. What the fuck? What is happening right now? So we were all kind of put off about that, but we decided to move on a little bit, okay? And this is the final part of the story. The most recent thing that happened was a few minutes later, one of my other coworkers, because, you know, we're in a group of four, so one of them, she suddenly asked him, hey, so I heard one of my friends calling you a Nazi. What's that about? And that kind of blindsided me, because I had no idea he was being called a Nazi by other coworkers. And also, number two, he's only been here for, like, 2 weeks at most at this point. He's only been working for 2 weeks, and somehow some other coworkers are already calling him a Nazi. What? How do you get that nickname that fast? Anyways, so this coworker, she's like, so why are my friends calling you a Nazi? And he kind of takes and this guy takes a deep breath in and goes, well, I notice patterns other people don't, okay? I'll leave it at that. Now, that's concerning to me for a few reasons. Number one, he did not deny the allegation. If I was called a Nazi, I'd be like, what the fuck? Why? What did I do? What the fuck? Why did I deserve that, right? But this guy was like, well, I notice patterns that other people don't notice, so I get called a Nazi. Like, what? What does that mean? And then once again, like an uncomfortable silence fell over the group as we went back to working, and we kind of forgot about it. But still, that's, as far as I can tell, that's all the stories I have about this coworker. There might be things happening in the future, I don't know, but still, just very fucking concerning. So, this guy believes that black kids were held at gunpoint to go to school, and that somehow relates back to him failing his background check. He also fucking hates socialism to the point where he wants his disabled friend just to die. He's very, very stingy about, like, nationality and race to the point where he like, can tell whether people are from certain countries or not. Their family are from certain countries. And number 5, he's already been called a Nazi and he's only worked there for like 2 weeks. Like, what the fuck? Right? That's very concerning, right? I'm not crazy, right? And it's crazy because besides those things, he's like a totally normal guy. He likes motorcycles. He bikes in on an e-bike every day. Like, he talks about Linux, talks about gaming, talks about the new games coming out. But he's a fucking psycho, right? What the hell? I don't think I'm overreacting because my coworkers also thought that was really fucking weird. Anyways, that's about it. Remember, kids, always tell your tolerance. I'll see you guys later and goodbye.